Yo, and we are live. Man, this is Seth from S.E.T Key Media, and backed by popular demand, we're going to do some popular horizontals, well, some popular vertical lives, horizontals. Man, let's get right into it.
I want you to watch this first. So this is him and Barry Weiss. And now you'll recognize after this who we have on the podcast today. Go ahead.
And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result.
And this is Roland G. Fryer. He's the Harvard professor that came out with the study that there's no racial bias in police shootings. And it almost cost him his entire career and safety.
So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now,
if you don't know what that means, or if you didn't catch it, yes, they found a racial bias in, yes, police are more likely to get rough with you if you're not white or if you're black. They're more likely to get you roughed up. Everybody liked that study. Everybody liked those results of his study. But when the other study about, okay, well, there's a racial bias in police shooting, he's like, there is none. Yeah. So the first part, there is racial bias, and if the police is going to rough you up, slam you up against the car and all that good stuff, yeah, there's racial bias in that, but there's no racial bias in police shooting.
that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And then I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page, dense, academic economics paper.
Hey, can you imagine that? Doing a study, you didn't get the results you expected, so you take out all the research analysts, you put some new ones in, and you get the same damn thing.
Hell no, man.
You just gotta take that L. It is what it is. These are the facts now. Let's get right back into it.
With a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And
yeah, over a 400-page study, and I'm guarantee you most people just read the title and was just like,
Hell no, man.
I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together.
that's facts. Like, you would expect that, okay, well, if they're roughing us up, if there's racial bias in them roughing you up, then why doesn't that, like, also lead into us being shot more? There is that, like, weirdness to the data, but that's what the data is showing.
We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they said, yeah, then it would make sense.
Wow.
And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. So it was, you know, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for, because, you know, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was
Like, can y'all believe that? Just because bro did a study that he took upon himself to do, that he expected to get the same results as you probably expected out of it, and he did it. And because he released the truth, or his study, bro had to walk around with protection. You know, there's some wild people out here who wouldn't keep that victim mentality on the black people. There's a lot of people who want to keep it.
By the way, first time I saw this reaction, to this, it takes a lot of courage and bravery and brass to do this. Keep in mind, 2009, I think you're one of the top 100 Time magazine. And at the time, if you're 45 today, you're what, 30 at that time, 30 years old to be on Time. I mean, that's a prestigious place to be. When you were reporting this, how much did you think about this could potentially affect my career?
Not at all. I think I was just naive, man. You call it brave. Maybe I was just dumb. But I didn't think about it at all, honestly. And I have an attitude that if you tell me I can't do something, I'll show you that I can.
Hey.
And so when people say, oh, you can't publish this, it wasn't coming from a place where they cared about me or cared about the people in the neighborhoods who I've been working for since I got to Harvard. And so my basic view was, look, the people in the street know the truth. And we can't keep lying to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I said the same, different time in that clip you showed. I say all the time, like, the conversations we're having in academia don't hit the ground in the neighborhoods that I care the most about, right? Like, if you go to my old neighborhood, and we talked about Louisville before the show, you go to Louisville and call someone BIPOC, they'll punch you in your face, right? Like, that's not, they don't care about those kinds of things. And so I've always had the view that if this was your family, you'd tell them the truth, even if it was a hard thing to say. And you'd find a way to say it with empathy and with love, but you wouldn't lie to them. And so the idea that you would hide results because you are afraid of what people would say or how they would feel or how it would affect your career, it's just never been about me. It's about the folks in the neighborhoods we're trying to help.
Nah, facts though. He released it so black people could have better knowledge of what to do. Now, for some reason, Harvard only wants him to release it under the guidelines that it gives us some type of victim mentality. And that's the problem. We can't have a victim mentality if it's saying that, hey, yo, there is no bias. So we must just be acting up in those moments then. It must be us. That's the problem in those moments. And I'm not saying every time, of course, there are police shootings of black men that are completely wrong, that are completely unjust. But I'm going to tell you, like, most of the time, it's not the case. And that's the sad reality of it.
What are you seeking? Because, sometimes everybody's seeking something else. Like for me, I have a certain life that I've lived, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of a certain truth for myself that to maybe tie a certain issue in the past, conflicts that I was trying to overcome. What answer are you trying to get to the bottom of for yourself?
I'm going to put every ounce of effort I have in trying to make sure that kids, black or brown, don't have to endure what I did to get here. I'm trying to make the journey worth it, right? So if you had come to me at age, 15, it's one of the loneliest days of my entire life. I walked out of the Denton County Correctional Facility. I just visited my father in there. And I remember that conversation because he was bragging about how comfy the slippers were that they gave the people in jail. I thought, that's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I walked out of there and I looked up, and I'll never forget it. It was one of these beautiful blue Texas skies. And I've never felt more alone in my life. I was 15 years old. Where was I going to go? There was no one else. I didn't even know who my mother was at that time. My grandmother was here in Florida. And if he had come to me at that...
God damn, you know his life was kerfuffled, because how in God's name you know your dad, but you don't know your mom? So you don't know the person who shot you out, but you know the guy who shot you in? Is hilarious.
Time you said, look, I know
it's fucked up, but it's kind of
things seem pretty impossible now. But these experiences are going to make you impervious to the BS when it comes to race in America. And you are going to be able to analyze data and maybe make some progress for the next generation of kids. I'd like to think that I would have taken on that challenge. But if you'd come to me during that day and said, if you can get through this, we can have Chardonnay at 10:30 at Harvard University and hang out. We can talk about Plato. I would have said, no, thanks, man. Could you just get my dad out of jail? And so for me, it's you're right. I mean, when I first got to Harvard, I felt guilty. I had to figure out, I got to do something, right? And I feel like the clock is running out. So I'm in a big hurry to make a big difference.
Were you in our
Fair use, by the way. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're in here. Appreciate the love.
meeting, there's a phrase that I couldn't stand they would say to us, because of where we were at. Mechka, Mechka, Mechka. Like, oh, poor Patrick, poor Bet Davids. And I couldn't stand that phrase. When you went to Harvard, did they treat you like,
I ain't gonna lie, real winners in life hate the victim mentality. It hurts us, I promise you. Every time somebody try to frame us as a victim, or even when we accidentally try to frame ourselves as a victim, bro, it hurts. It's like, bro, no, I refuse to see myself as a victim to anything or anybody.
hey, you came from here and poor you, let us treat you this, or were you treated like anybody else and, the standards and expectation to perform? And if yes or no, did it do anything to you?
It's interesting. I don't know if anyone said poor me, but I do believe they looked at me different. I felt like they looked at me like I was an exception. Someone had beat the odds. Someone who was curious. The New York Times did a profile of my life in 2006 or so. And I remember, colleagues coming up to me and go, "Man, you sure you want all that in the newspaper?" Because they talked about my family, dealing drugs and blah, blah, blah. That I wasn't trying to hide anything at that point.
And noted, this man is an economic. He's an economist, so he pretty much run with numbers and all that. So when he did this, he ran them numbers right. He went to the most impoverished neighborhoods and rode around with these police, and then also pulled numbers from other police departments. Trust me, what he's talking about, man, that's facts.
But the idea that I was an exception used to really piss me off, yeah. Because this is not about helping a few of us beat the odds, right? That's insulting. This is about unfettered competition so we can change the odds, right? This is about figuring out how we give people real opportunities so that they can do for themselves, right? I don't need you to pluck a few of us and pat us on the back. What we need to do is figure out how do we find hidden talent wherever it lies across the globe.
It's interesting. So let's go back to the study. And, you've shared a little bit about your background for, some folks who don't know. The study that you did, this specific study in 2016 that, we played a clip for earlier. When you're going through this process with this study, were you yourself expecting those numbers? Or were you yourself surprised as hell when you saw it? And then how did that change your perception and opinion of things?
No one was more surprised than me, right? I'm not proud of it, but I don't really like the police that much, right? If I'm going to the airport after this, if they pull me over, I'm gonna be nervous, man. I think a lot.
Hey, facts though. Hey, no matter how good or how cordial you are with the police and all that, when they get behind you, you just never know. But you still gotta act right. You still gotta try to make them feel safe. That's the way how to get out of a ticket, and that's the way how to get out of them handcuffs, is you try to make the officer feel safe. Because his job to provide you safety. All right, well, cool. Make his job easier. Help him out a little bit. And I promise you, bro's gonna let you off. Maybe.
A lot of us would be. So I figured this was going to be the easiest thing in the world, right? People were out protesting and stuff like that after Michael Brown. But, flying to St. Louis and locking arms was just not my thing. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. It's just not my thing. So I thought, here's what I'll do to help. I will figure out empirically what's really going on, because we'd only seen a few videos at that point. And I remember going to a colleague of mine and saying, here, I'm going to study the police, and here's an idea. And what he quickly told me was, you don't understand anything about the police. So how are you going to be going to figure out what's going on with race and policing in America? So I embedded myself in police departments, and we can talk about that if you want at some point. But I was extremely surprised. I was sure that there was going to be bias in police shootings. As the clip said, when I got the results back, I hired new research assistants to do it over again, just to make sure. But once you have the results, once you have what you think is the truth, given.
Yeah, that is a bit wild, though. You gonna get all them other research assistants like, all right, hold on. I ain't feeling what y'all came back with. I need another one. And got the same goddamn thing. Hey, I'd have called them other RAs back like, yeah, my bad, bro, my bad. But we got the same thing. Our bad. We thought you was tripping.
In your data,
talk about no bias in police shootings.
There's no other choice but to go out with it and try to educate people on what the data actually says.
And what is the data? If you can just actually give us the data, what was in the data?
What we found was that on lower level uses of force, so when it comes to pushing someone up against a car, pulling a gun, putting handcuffs on them but not arrested, and things like that, there were large racial differences in police use of force. So black civilians are 50% more likely to have force used on them in any given interaction.
And I think if you're a black man or watching this, I'm pretty sure we've experienced that. But yes. So there, I guess you can run along with that victim mentality if you want. But yes, black people are more likely, 50% more likely to encounter some type of roughing up in a police encounter.
Even when the police say they're perfectly compliant, and they're not arrested, and there's no contraband, et cetera, they're still more than 20% more likely than white civilians to have force used on them. But when it came to lethal use of force, shootings, we found absolutely no racial bias in that in any way, shape, or form. And our data, I believe, is a lot better than what has been discussed in the popular press, because they're looking at kind of statistical snapshots. They're saying, well, the fraction of black people who are shot by the police is 50%, and they're only 13% of the population, ergo it must be discrimination. Sorry, I don't know if they forgot Statistics 101. That's not how it works, right? What we did was say, look, here is two people are in a situation with police. Their behavior is the same. The other conditions on the ground are the same. The police decides to shoot one and not the other. Is race a factor? In other words, accounting for everything else about that situation, does race predict whether or not a police officer will pull the trigger? And the answer emphatically is no. And that is the result that caused panic in a lot of people. Most people like the first result.
What did it do to you? What did it do to you? I mean, because there's certain.
That's a good point. I bet everybody liked that first result. Like, I knew it. Yes, us black people are under attack by the police. Yeah, they rough us up. Yeah, but they're not killing us though. I'm like, oh. Then that person gonna look at you like,
emotional damage.
You're anti-black. You're a go against your race, you Uncle Tom ass. And you're just like, come on, bro. I can't tell you the truth. All right, let's get back to it.
You're seeking the truth, because that's what you keep saying with Barry Weiss, right? I'm trying to get to a truth. And I love what you said, and you said it again earlier today. You said in one of the documentaries I watched, I think it was like 26, 27 minutes, where it says, I'm not trying to beat the odds. Because one guy, what does it feel like, Roland, that you beat the odds? You're like, I'm not trying to beat the odds. I'm trying to change the odds, right? But individually, we're also going through a journey. There's a difference between saying, guys, look what I found. You will not believe this report. Look at what I found. But what am I going through? Yeah. What are you going through with the life that you live?
Nah, I feel it, though. I ain't trying to beat the odds. I'm trying to beat the odds, and after that, I'm trying to change it. Man, look, if it's 1 in 5 every black man make it out, shoot, I'm going to try to make it every 3 in 5 now. Shit, I'm going to switch it up. We going to make things better. I feel what bro's saying. Like, I fuck with it.
At that time, I was not aware of what was going to come. So when we had the results, we pursued 2 tracks. One, you obviously publish it, and we published it on a top economics journal. Great. 7 people read it. Maybe 6. The second path is we wanted a more popular version of the article, so the New York Times wrote about it. And for me personally, when people respond You know, people send me an email and say, hey, your paper's crap, or hey, your paper's great. I do all I can to return every single one of those. And so for me, I sat for days and returned thousands and thousands of emails from regular old Americans in Kansas and in Idaho and in Chicago who said, I don't know if I believe this or not, but thank goodness there's actually data and we can actually have a debate about it. And we went back and forth.
Facts.
And
Facts, though. At least now that there's a study, there's numbers, we can debate this now. We can debate it, we can have a conversation, because there are numbers, and we're not just going off emotionality. Now nobody can hit you with the emotionality of, oh, well, don't you remember Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, which I'm a bit hesitant on George Floyd, but still, nobody can now hit you with that emotional argument. You can now come up with empirical data, a 400-page report that you can cite, and you can quote, going like, well, oh, you're right. Black men or black people are 50% more likely to get roughed up by the police, or physical force. But in terms of being shot, they're just as more likely to be shot as any other race by the police. And that's just something we do not want to accept.
That's kind of what I do for a living, right? I'm a professor. I'm supposed to be teaching, not just in the classroom. But if you release a paper like this is what you do. So what happened to me? I got a chance to teach. And if you remember that time, I didn't do any other press. This wasn't about me out there thumping my chest trying to be on whatever news channel saying, hey, look what I found. We put it out there, and then I, over email and other means, tried to communicate directly with people about what the results were about.
But what I'm asking is, what did it do to you? So because life, okay, I grew up in Iran, and I see 10,000 men marching, flagellating their backs, screaming, "Matic bad hombre called death upon America. America must be an evil empire." Then I watch Rocky IV, and Rocky and Drago are fighting. Drago, and then Rocky. And if you can change, he can change. Anybody can change. I'm like, man, maybe we can bring Soviet Union and us and unify and realize we have a lot in common, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. But that's a movie. That's fake. This is real. America must be evil. Then you go to Germany, live at a refugee camp. Parents get a divorce. Mom says, because that entire family were communists, their Bible was Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. Rich people are greedy. Dad, on the other side, is an imperialist. They believe poor people are lazy. And then,
shit, I'm on the imperialist side. Then if that's the case, hey, poor people lazy. I can get down with that.
and I get into the military, I get into sales, and then I see the person that bitches the most, work the least, the guy, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? And it changed my opinion about economy, about work, about politics, about capitalism, about who to vote for, about who not to vote for, about who's manipulating, about who wanted to use me, about who wanted to keep me poor, about who wanted to kind of make sure I didn't figure out the secrets to life, that I can go out there and figure myself out, about how they use fear to control, to keep your mouth shut, all of these things that I'm going through as a kid, right? And I'm like in my 20s, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. What did you go through one-on-one, not anybody else? Did it change anything away from what you witnessed in your life to go back and say, man, I remember Bobby back in high school. Unfortunately, they sold him. He bought it. He's dead now. He was smarter than me in math. If he knew what I knew, he could have been. That sucks. So it was really the social, economic. It wasn't a skin color, but he was convinced it was a skin color. Why do we buy? Did you go through that evolution yourself?
Of course. Yeah, of course, of course. On a couple dimensions. One, I was disappointed in social scientists. I didn't realize there was so much politics in academia until that point. I really thought that we were out there, all of us, searching for the truth. I mean, we sit in these seminars and we beat the crap out of each other's ideas and papers, and it's all about trying to get to a place of what's correct and what's not. And to see people who I respected for years lose their way because there was a result they didn't like, it was very shocking to me.
Can I ask you a question, Roland?
Yeah.
So you do this research, you have a fact check, double check, and the truth is there. Why do you think that truth is such a threat to your colleagues, to the powers that be, going up the ladder to Harvard, to just the powers that be? It's such a threat. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think the results themselves were a threat to them. I think they wanted to be on the right side of a particular issue. I never thought of people as sheep until that moment.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's crazy you say that. My entire life growing up, I don't have a 4-year, I don't have a 2-year, I don't even have an associate's. I had a 1.8 GPA in high school.
God damn, oh shit. Damn, Patrick. We got that associates. But hey though, shout out though. Hey, let y'all know right now, man. You just need that hustle and that dream and that determination. And a business plan, of course.
School, I was a math guy. I love calculus.
Same here.
Love math analysis. I can do math all day long.
Love math.
Had no interest for anything else. Troubled teenage, kids got divorced, all this stuff. So my route was, I'm going to go to the Army. He went to the Air Force. He was the airman of the year in the Air Force. So we're military. Tom's dad was a rocket scientist, literally was a rocket scientist. I'm not saying this as a... So Tom went, he became a professor, adjunct professor at Pepperdine, at Biola. He's probably had $2 billion of exits and raising money, so he goes to Silicon Valley. So when Steve Jobs and Bill Gates do that interview that 300 people worldwide are invited to be there, he's one of them. That's Tom. Tom's background is that. So Tom is academia, more coming from this side. But a part of it, I remember when I went to Harvard and for their OPM program, Owner President Management Program, you have to do $10 million a year to be able to go there. And I qualified. So I'm like, Tom's like, Pat, just go. I'm like, Tom, we're running a company. He's like, Pat, I'm telling you, go. We got the company. We're good. I hired Tom to be the president of our company at the time. So I go for 3 weeks. Now, let me tell you what time it is when I go there. I go during the debate between Hillary Clinton and Trump.
Oh, wow.
And I go to this chow hall. I thought chow hall, like, military. But this is a different chow hall. It's CHAO. It's an Asian man that gave $100 million to Harvard. It's named after him, Mr. Chow. That's okay, Chow Hall.
Yeah.
So I go to Chow Hall. There's 300 people from Harvard watching this debate.
We back.
And I'm thinking, Jelly would.
Sorry about that, guys.
Seriously, do it fast. You're doing it slow so we can hear it. So I'm at this Chow Hall place, and I'm hearing these guys. And I sit in the sideline, say nothing. And it's the line, because you'd be in jail, right?
Oh, man.
Aren't we glad that a man like this isn't in the White House making the decisions and having control of whatever she says, because you'd be in jail, right? And boo! I'm like, it has to be 50-50. Now, I'm like, I want to see 300 people in the room. It's got to be 60-40. I'm like, Trump just said something. The Trump people should root for him. Nothing. So this kept going for the 2-hour debate. Not 300 people are in Chow Hall. Not one person got up. The OPM program is a 3-year program. I'm supposed to go every year for 3 weeks. I go to my main person. I said, are you guys 100? Do you believe in debate? Of course we do. Is this a place where you guys entertain opposing ideas? Of course we do. Can I ask why 100%? So what do you think about Trump? He says, oh, he's a he would be a terrible president. I said, why is it 100% of you all agree that Trump's a bad person?
Because there's no free thought in that motherfucker. And that's the problem about colleges these days. It's all indoctrination. There's no free thought. They want everybody to think the same, and there's no real freedom of ideas no more in college.
Why is that? I thought you guys were about debate. I said, I can't come back to the school. Never went back.
That's why I go
online.
Go
back. The reason wasn't, I enjoy debate. I want to sit down with Stephen A. Smith and I were talking 2 days ago. Let's sit down and have a great conversation together. I love it. Yesterday, I had a friendly debate with the lawyer for John Barnett, who is the lawyer for the Boeing whistleblower on, hey, he committed suicide. Some of the stuff just doesn't add up. Like, company lost $50 billion on valuation. No, he just loved Boeing. It was nothing bad. Like, I don't know. I got some questions. I'm curious, right? Let's have the banter. But when I saw that, I said, this is not a university. They're full of shit. Now, this is my opinion. You don't have to have that position. This is my position. Why? And then COVID takes place, and then you saw how extreme they got, and they say they're...
Yeah, so pretty much Patrick just talking about is, yeah, he went to that event over there at Harvard, and he's like, bro, all these people are just like thinking the same. Everybody was for Hillary. Nobody was for Trump. Everybody think Trump is bad. But when I talk to them, or if you talk to them, they'll say, "Oh yeah, but you have your own ideas. There's a freedom of idea. All right, then how come everybody in here is all Hillary? There's no way y'all think that Trump is just that bad. All of y'all. It's not possible unless there's some type of indoctrination going on
against for education. And then parents asked and said, hey, I know I'm spending this kind of money for my kids to come and stay in campus. Now you don't want them to be on campus. You want them to come from home. Can we get some savings? Nope. Harvard degree is worth the whole price. You got $60 billion in endowment. So all of these things made me go from, you're from Harvard?
Yeah, and Harvard annually is around $50K. So you're telling me that they could at least save like $10K on tuition just because they couldn't even get on campus. And remember, part of their tuition is paying for housing and boarding. So if they're not getting housing and boarding, you're getting declined a service, you would expect a discount. Nope. Harvard's on that bullshit. They're going to charge you the full tuition just because it's Harvard.
Oh my God. How are you, Dr. Roland G. Fryer? You're from Oxford? You're from this? You're from that? Tell you, yeah, you know what? I don't know if you guys believe in debate. That's where my mind went to, because what I witnessed on Harvard campus for those 3 weeks. I could be wrong. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the individual faculty members involved. It really does. I mean, you know, I ask myself all the time, who is Harvard? What does that even mean, right? And if you were to come to my class, for example, I teach an undergraduate class that talks about issues like how much discrimination there is in the world, whether or not what education policy should we have? What do we know empirically about the effects of slavery on current outcomes? And you have fierce debate in that class, and I think you'd be proud of what the students are doing in terms of different viewpoint diversity. If you go to other places on campus, it might be different. I don't know. So it's a big place, and but it doesn't surprise me what you described.
Rob, can you pull up what I just texted you? I just literally Googled this right now, because you know how you can go and find out and say, the article came out saying what percentage of Twitter executives and employees donate to the left or the right? And then it was like 99%. I'm like, what? And then, have you ever seen this chart or no? Rob, can you pull up that chart? Because that's public. It's not hard to kind of find. It's all over Twitter, and we have it. And then I said, okay, let me go a little bit further. This is different. This is just, let me go show to the top. Harvard Corporation members donated heavily to Democrats ahead of the 2022 midterms.
Damn.
Look how much of it's red. You got the Pritzker family, heavy duty. You got the Wells. There's zero.
So if you look at all this, they're pretty much saying that, well, Harvard is donated to the Democratic Party like exponentially, like, bro, like a lot of money. Bands on bands on bands. But this small little red part here, that's Republican. That's all.
Red, there's zero bipartisan. The only person that is Paul Finnegan, and slightly red, all blue. This is pretty much 95% is all blue. So now, does it mean
out here giving 6 figures plus to the Democratic Party?
Blue is right and red is wrong? Does it mean conservative policies and living a conservative life fiscally is a bad thing? Does it mean maybe if I go to Harvard, I have to be a liberal if I come out of Harvard? Because if all these smart people at these places, God forbid, if I'm a conservative at a place like that, I may get ousted. You know, and I know you have a very, very good relationship with Claudine Gay. And I know you guys are best friends.
Yeah, barbecuing, hanging out.
You know, you were having breakfast with her this morning, which was great. But
wow.
So you hear.
If you don't remember Claudine Gay, that was a Harvard professor that got kicked out due to plagiarism and anti-Semitism. And it was really because she didn't really do anything. I think it was like, what? I think she was like damn near running Harvard, or she was like high up there in the Harvard hierarchy. And she didn't really do nothing about the pro-Hamas or anti-Israel protests. And she was framed as anti-Semitic. Then they somehow found her old work to be plagiarism out of nowhere. And, you know, just cherry on top, and got her up out of there.
Claudine
we
Gay,
did an episode on her.
And you come
Look
out
back.
and you report this when in 2016, 2017. I Googled literally right now to see your article about, you know, New York Times, Star Economist, you know, writes this article, and that was in 2017. okay, whatever it was, right? And then they're telling you what you're doing. The next one comes out. Star economist at Harvard faces sexual harassment complaints. And I went through your tweets. There was nothing about your tweets that was sexual. They were actually funny. You're like, maybe if I didn't spend so much time studying stuff, maybe I'd be better in sex.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to France. I actually looked at your tweets.
Text.
Your text. I'm like, yeah, I mean, we all probably talk like that every once in a while, right? So then they come after you. Then Claudine Gay, behind closed doors, is trying to talk to Larry Bobo, I don't know who it was, trying to get you to lose your tenure. This is pre her being president. And do you kind of sit there and say, dude, are we not protected? I mean, am I not, are you guys not trying to target me? Did that thought at all cross your mind that this school doesn't like some of the positions? And Claudine Gay, maybe the average person on the left would say Claudine Gay should probably defend you, right? If you're really about, he should be on my side, right? When you were going through that, and obviously I'm not telling the whole story, but when you were going through that, how are you processing all that experience?
It was hard to process it. And what I focused on was what I could do better, really, right? Like when anything happens in life, you have a choice. You can either look in the mirror or you can look out the window. And the first thing I do.
That was a banger right there. I don't know if y'all caught that. But he said, in life you have a choice. You can either look in the mirror or look out the window. And hey, I suggest you look in the mirror.
It was look in the mirror. And
hey, hold on, man.
Anything happens in life, you have a choice. You can either look in the mirror or you can look out the window. And the first thing I do is look in the mirror. And you're right. It's debatable whether or not telling jokes is worth that kind of penalty. But maybe I shouldn't have told them, right? And so,
do you really believe that, though? Do you really believe that?
Yeah, the first thing I did was I went to executive coaching because I didn't understand, right? Like I know it's maybe hard for some people to.
Hey, bro's 100% accountable. I love it. That's what we need. More 100% accountable black men. Because that accountability in the black community, man, that shit is lacking.
Think, well, you're a Harvard professor.
On both
you
sides.
must know better. We talked about how I got to be a Harvard professor. And nowhere in that journey was management training. Nowhere in that journey was, hey, I am very, very casual, right? So when I think we're friends, we're friends. And so I feel like we can talk about anything. If you have Thanksgiving at my house, then I feel like we can banter in any way we want. It's just the way I roll. And so it never dawned on me
So you would
that,
hope.
For years, I had lots and lots of students at my house for Thanksgiving. And so those students I had a different type of bantering with than ones that didn't. And so I treated my, workplace for people who, I knew well, like my living room, and I shouldn't have done that. And I don't know if it truly hurt someone. They said it, a few years later, they said it did. And if it did, my God, I'm sorry, because that's not what I had intended.
And that's that slow shit I was talking about in the Vertical Live. I was like, bro, you tell me you had a conversation with some of your students in your own crib, and then what? Sometime later, they go like, oh, yeah, that conversation, it hurt me. I was affected. I was physically I was just haunted by that conversation. And it's like, bro, grow the fuck up. Like, what?
Hell no, man.
Like, why the hell you gonna walk into another man's house and then go report what he said in his own domain? It's crazy.
So it's really not about what I believe. It's about what could be and whether or not I can actually change my behavior. So that I've done. Now, what was I thinking during that whole process? It was very, very confusing. And I had to figure out if I could actually do the work I wanted to do at a university. And more importantly, I had to figure out, because the world was treating me very differently from Monday to Tuesday during that time in my life, how I could still be on this mission to have impact. How was I going to get the work done that I needed to get done if I couldn't publish here or talk about academic papers there or have research assistants or what have you? How was I still going to make a difference? And that's what I was truly focused on.
Yeah, I mean, you sound very nice.
It's not about nice, man. I want to be effective.
Yeah, no, I get that.
like
but to me also, from the outside, do you think the approach they took to get it public and the way it was a form of
Pretty much, I guess he had to play nice guy to be effective. Hey, he didn't care as long as he was effective. I feel like even if he had to be the bully, he'd have done it to be effective.
trying to embarrass you a little bit? Was it a form of making an example? Because that could have been handled privately, no?
Yeah, it felt personal.
Okay.
It felt personal.
Damn.
But again, maybe I'm being, you call it nice, but what you gonna do about that, right? Like back in the neighborhood I grew up in, people would say, man, fuck school, man. These people discriminating. What the hell you gonna do about that? You got a choice. You can either get up and work your butt off and see what comes of it, or you can sit here and talk about what you can't do.
Yeah, you gotta take that risk. Okay, yeah, the odds are against you. So, but this is the only game you got to play, though. And if you don't play the game, you're broke. You're nobody. So it's either you work yourself against the odds, work your ass off, and just see where you go and have faith in yourself that you're gonna end up somewhere you want to be.
And so during that time, yes, I could have sat around. I'm not sure anybody would have listened during that time, but I could have sat around and said, woe is me. It's not my style. I've never done that. Never. And I wasn't going to start then. What I had to figure out is I got 2 kids in private schools. How are we gonna make that work out? Yeah. Right? I got kids. My kids, you know, I grew up hating rich kids, and now I got 2 of them. They like brie and shit. How am I going to afford brie? I got those are the problems I got. So
right? I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party.
Tulsi Gabbard says she is no longer a Democrat.
A potential Tulsi Gabbard VP.
Where we are being told that we just have to comply and go along with whatever they say.
American people are smarter than this. However, we must remain vigilant to recognize their propaganda for what it is, pure lie.
Unfortunately, we live in a time where free speech is under attack. Whatever they say goes, and we have to just follow.
And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology. Taking on Kamala Harris on a debate stage before, I would look forward to doing that again.
I think she was on Tucker Carlson. So if y'all want that, don't worry, I got y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and close it out, guys. And appreciate y'all for tuning in. Now, I'm gonna tell you why I did this horizontal. Because I listened to the fans. I listened to y'all. Y'all made y'all votes. I looked at it, and yes, y'all prefer the horizontal lives. Apparently the nice, short, sweet ones. We will keep doing the verticals, but I will have to, I guess, split off and do a nice little horizontal wrap-up. That's what we gonna call it, the horizontal wrap-up. Because last time, you're right, I played the whole interview about, they got into the whole CIA and hip-hop. But this time, we're gonna cut it short and sweet to the part you want to be at. Now, what I want y'all to do with this information is at least try to go out there and study it. At least go out there and try to read what he wrote. Remember, this is a black man with dreads. Funny as hell. He looked like one of the homies you could damn near, like, kick back with and have a shot with. Like, let's keep it a buck. He don't look like one of these Uncle Tom ass dudes. Like, let's keep it real. Like, maybe we can kind of hear bro out and hear what he got to say. He came from the bottom, just like a lot of us. 15 years old, don't know who his mom is. To Harvard economic professor. And now he comes out with this study, and now what? We just gonna turn on my mans? Nah. I want to hear bro out. I want to continue hearing bro's story. I want to continue hearing bro's message. Because I feel like he's standing on integrity. And I fuck with that. But, alright, man. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. This set from Set and Key Media. Peace. Oh yeah, yep, I'm going live again, Capital. I gotta clear things up with that Fresh and Fit. I got y'all. I'm gonna cover some other thing. Probably gonna get